RMJ Movie Reviews back again with an on the fly movie review of Venom. Well, well. Let me start off by saying Spider Man and the Incredible Hulk are my two favorite superheroes of all time. It's I don't really know which one I like more. They're pretty close, but I love Spider Man, as I've indicated in some of my other reviews of the previous Spider-Man films before, because I used to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in the 80s when he used to come on NBC. I've just always loved that character of Spider-Man. Um, Venom, I had a couple Spider-Man comic books throughout the 80s when I was a little kid. And I do remember I had one comic book that had the black Spider-Man Venom suit when I was a kid. I don't remember what year it was, but it was sometime in the 80s. So that was when I first became familiar with the black Spider-Man suit. And then later on, I think as I got older, then became familiar with this Venom character, but I didn't become completely familiar with him probably until the 90s animated series, when I really learned the extensive backstory of him. But I was fully aware of him before the series. But the 90s Fox TV show was when I found out about him coming from outer space, blah 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 blah. Like everybody else, I love Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Man 2 from I believe '04, Doc Ock movie. I like that one. I really honestly love the original 2002 film the best, even though it's probably not the best one, but that's the one because that's the first big screen version I saw. Spider-Man 2 is really good. I really like it. I think it drags in spots, and I think it imitates Superman 2 a little bit too much, but still a good movie. Spider-Man 3 is atrocious. It's just atrocious. I will say some of the Venom stuff in it I think is kind of cool, just because it was cool to see Venom on screen for the first time. But he was really poorly shoehorned into that movie, and it just wasn't a well thought out idea. Sam Raimi didn't want him in there, but they forced it upon him. And when I heard that they were coming out with this movie, I was not excited. Seeing the history of the Spider-Man franchise, the way it was handled with Columbia, so I wasn't excited. And mentioned to the fact that it was coming out in October. This is a summer film, so expectations went lower. Now mine were raised up a little bit because Tom Hardy was in it, and I love Tom Hardy. He's a great actor. I love Warrior. I'm a big fan of him. So Tom Hardy got my hopes up a little bit, but after I started reading the reviews and heard about the test screenings, whatever. So let me be clear. This is a bad movie. This is bad. But I had fun in its badness. And I will say the tone of this movie is really weird. It's very confused. As far as the plot being poor, I didn't really so much care about that. I really kind of more wanted to see some cool Venom action, and you do get some cool Venom action. Honestly, there's really two things that save this movie: Tom Hardy and actually seeing the character of Venom. That's honestly, in my opinion, would save the movie. Tom Hardy completely throws himself into this and goes totally over the top. And he takes it to old school, like acting class levels. Like he's just trying whatever works and whatever sticks. And I give him credit for that. And there's some things that really work, and then there's some things that don't work. There are a couple things that are cringeworthy, but I really didn't care because I already knew what I was getting into before I saw the movie. But it's a bad movie. I think really its badness comes from the fact that it's very confused about what it wants to be. It's overly comedic, slapsticky. And as far as Venom in this movie is very similar to, I'd say, the way Freddy Krueger was in Freddy's Dead. Where remember how Freddy had pretty much just become like comedic, and he's playing the Game Boy and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much Venom's tone. Like he's just very like comedic and one-linery. And I think if it wasn't the character of Venom, and it was some other character that was part of their persona, then I think it would be okay. But Venom, at least what I know, is not really meant to be comedic like this. I will say if they make a sequel, which I can tell you right now they're probably not. If they did, you know, since this is the first solo Venom movie, they'd have to establish that, you know, and I think that's the strongest thing is the back and forth between Tom Hardy and the character of Venom. That's very well done. As far as the dialogue being bad and stuff, it's terrible. It's really bad. You know, I think this is the line where he says, "I'm gonna eat your arms off and you'll be floating like a turd in the wind." He literally says that, and it's like it's funny because it's so bad. It's just like, really, you approve that? But you know, at that point, you know, when I saw Tom Hardy's performance, I realized what the movie was going for, so I went with it. And look, it is fun, and some of the action is really fun. In particular, one of the action sequences I really enjoy is I love the action sequence in the apartment where like he's just like drop kicking people and he's kind of doing some Steven Seagal arm break moves. I really enjoyed that scene. I thought that scene was a lot of fun. And like the one they keep showing in the previews where the guy sticks up the convenience store, which spoiler is at the end of the movie. I like that little brief moment. Those moments were fun. So that's what saved it. And Tom Hardy really, I love their scenes where like Tom Hardy is like kind of like talking to people on the phone, and then Venom will be like, "What are you doing?" And he kind of goes like, you know, and it's really cool the way because Tom Hardy is so good. He really is fantastic the way he plays that kind of schizophrenic, like who are you? Why are you talking to me? Sort of thing. It's really good. So that's ultimately what saved the movie. And seeing Venom and some of the one-liners are funny. I will admit some of them are funny. Not all of them are funny, but some of them are funny. But I think when I talk about, I'll give you some comparisons to the level of badness of this movie. I would compare this. Okay, I'm gonna use those of us old guys, and I might add today, people. Today is my birthday. It's my 37th birthday. The numbers are climbing. But anyway, we'll talk to us old guys out there who grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I'm gonna compare two very fun action pictures from the 90s that are very bad, but they have really good action special effects and they're fun movies. I will compare Venom to Fair Game with Cindy Crawford and William Baldwin. Fair Game is horrible. It's an awful movie, but damn if it doesn't have great cinematography, a great score from Mark Mancina, and fantastic hardcore, raw, brutal action. It's a fun movie, but it's terrible. Second movie I compare it to is Hard Rain with Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater. Forgotten, but that's another horrible movie. But the fact that they went to those lengths to actually create real water in camera, and the action is really fun, and the musical score by Christopher Young is very well done. So those are two examples of movies that are extremely, extremely horrible. Two action pictures from the 90s that are terrible. They're just awful. But they're fun. You know what I mean? You already know that they're bad and you just kind of roll with it. You know, I haven't given a comparison, a scene from Hard Rain where there's a scene where Minnie Driver and Christian Slater are in this car as basically the town is flooding. And Minnie Driver starts pulling out cassette tapes, reading out like these names like, oh, the Rolling Stones and Pat Boone and blah, 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 blah. And they're cracking jokes while they're drowning in this car. And there's these crazed thieves with guns. No taking the situation seriously. That scene is basically the entire tone of this movie, Venom. People are in dire situations and they just kind of just go like, well, it's not really that bad. You know, I can honestly say this movie really takes itself so not seriously that it makes Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger look like that's played serious. Really. And I'm dead serious when I say that, guys. It's This is a terrible movie. It's really terrible. But Tom Hardy and the coolness of the way Venom is played in the movie, those are two things that save this movie. And some of the action. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it's bad. It's really bad. And look, if you guys go into it knowing it's bad, despite everything I told you, you'll have a decent time. But like if you're a hardcore Spider-Man, true to the comics, Venom fanatic, you will hate this movie with a deep-seated passion. See at your own risk. It's up to you. I know it's bad, but I had fun. To each their own, you choose. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, leave comments down below about Venom, what you thought. Don't forget to ring-a-ling-ding-ding-ding. Hit the little bell. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll be back with the whole Halloween series movie reviews. And I will be back with a special showing of my homemade movie from 1995, Halloween, The Death of Michael Myers. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.